So today I will be making chicken paprikash, which is a traditional Hungarian comfort food. And the main ingredient, as you can hear in the paprikash, is Hungarian paprika. I will be using sweet paprika. You're always allowed to do whatever you want. I wanted to go for a sweet flavor instead of a spicy flavor. And paprika, if you didn't already know, is a dried red pepper that is finely ground into this delicious, rich flavor and beautiful colored seasoning. And we will be using chicken thighs, chicken drumsticks, as well as baking flour, chicken broth, sour cream, onion, bell pepper, salt, pepper, and olive oil. I'm very excited to make this for you all today, and I hope you enjoy. Paprikash, a derivative of paprika, the dried red pepper ground up into a seasoning that makes Hungarian cuisine Hungarian cuisine. The smell of it took me back to July of 2018 when I first traveled to Central and Eastern Europe. Prior to studying abroad in the Czech Republic, my family wanted to open our horizons to the surrounding areas as well. There is so much more to Europe than just England, Spain, and Italy. So, given the proximity, Budapest was on our list after Prague, Berlin, and Vienna. Before we left, I wondered, what does Hungary even look like? What does Hungarian sound like? And am I going to be eating some Eastern European rendition of dumplings and stew again? I had already formed an opinion that I wasn't going to like it before I arrived. The architecture looked different, the streets dirtier compared to Vienna, and the overall mood almost sadder. But our cab driver was able to give us insight within the first 5 minutes of our arrival in Budapest. In his broken, precious English, he told us, Hungary is not really doing well. We don't have enough money to take care of all of our people. We aren't rich like many Austrians. But do you know what is more important than wealth? Our love for our people and our country. While things may look run down or people may look sad, we use what we have to be happy. I appreciated his honesty, and it gave me the means to understand that while this place may be breaking, they are not broken because there is still pride. The best way to understand new people and their history is through their food. On our first night of arriving to Budapest, we walked down the cracking cobblestone streets looking for, quote, authentic Hungarian food. Whatever that means, we weren't quite sure. 2 blocks later, ghetto goulash appeared in front of us. There was no wait, it said Hungarian food, and boy were we hungry. Being a vegetarian for 2 years in high school, I typically stick to poultry and fish, so when scanning the menu, beef, veal, and lamb were out of the question. I quickly realized that over half of the entrees had paprika. No, not bell peppers, paprika. I could not remember the last time I tasted the vibrant red seasoning. I couldn't recall. Was it filled with hot spice like dried chili flakes? Or was it truly like a bell pepper, sweet and light? Chicken breast paprikash with egg noodles. I imagined a creamy, spicy red sauce with long egg noodles that resembled Shirley Temple's hair. As I added in the final step of sour cream and flour to my homemade chicken paprikash, I was transported back to the waiter delivering my first experience of the dish. The sizzling and popping of the onions and bell pepper in the chicken juices, shrinking every second with bubbles that release a pepper aroma into the air. The reddish-orange hints that develop at the very end of cooking from the ivory white sour cream mixing with fiery red paprika. It almost looks too pretty to eat. After I completed it and was ready to taste it, I couldn't help but smile as I finally understood something I was not familiar with 8 months ago. The mouth-watering chicken, full-bodied paprika, onions, and pepper worked in unison. I had no idea that I would be able to recreate something that I deemed early on as foreign and difficult. This dish was not just tasty, it was delicious. Loss of words. The paprika has a very sweet flavor, but it's not too overpowering. And cooking the onions and the pepper in the same juices that the chicken were in made them very flavorful. And the chicken is just completely falling apart. It's very tender. And the sour cream and flour mixture made it a nice, pretty orange color. And I'm very happy with the final result. I hope you guys like it. Luckily, my parents enjoyed the meal just as much as I did, maybe even more. One thing I learned early on from my dad in cooking is that you can use a recipe to help give you the bones, but you have to add your own flair, your own unique touch to make that dish yours, and my father did just that. Vibrant yellow and orange, juicy heirloom tomatoes, deep green avocados that our neighbor always gives us. Maybe it was not Hungarian, and maybe a Hungarian would think that we ruined the dish. But we added things that define our daily cuisine to a dish that we had been introduced to 8 months prior.
So this was a nice little kickback reminder to our trip this past summer to Eastern Europe, where we experienced cuisines similar to this, and especially the use of paprika. And so when Ella got back and she had a project that she needed to do, we were more than happy to be the test subjects on that. And it was really simple. I mean, it was a matter of the paprika cream sauce, and then dark chicken, either chicken drums or chicken thighs. And in the recipe, it actually asked for buckwheat, but we do have a gluten allergy in the family. And so we substituted some pan-fried vegetables and mixed it up, and it turned out great, and it was fantastic. And we kept the can, of course, so we knew what to get in the future.
After my trip to Budapest, I went back to review their history. The end of World War I marked the end of the Austro-Hungarian dual monarchy, finally making Hungary a sovereign state again. However, the hardships of the post-war life brought rise to right-wing radicalism. This political revolution continued post-World War II and aimed to target the average people, the working class. The Soviets' overarching influence affected a large sphere of Central and Eastern Europe, politically, socially, and mentally. While red peppers arrived in Europe from the New World in the 16th century and may not seem traditional in the classic definition, it is no wonder Hungarians claim paprika as their star ingredient in their cuisine. After years and years of not being autonomous, they are now, and the seasoning makes Hungarian cuisine theirs. Not Russian, not Austrian, Hungarian.